Carlo, it's great to see you in front of the cameraman and not doing some insane TikTok dance on your wife's TikTok account.
Every day I'm shoveling.
Dude, my wife is obsessed with TikTok. And to be honest with you, at least we're having fun right now because there's not really much we can do otherwise.
I think you're obsessed with TikTok, man. But anyways, let's stop talking about TikTok and let's talk about the NHL. Two brothers in particular, the Tkachuks. They're meeting 4 times total in a row. They already met once. And man, I gotta ask, whenever these guys meet, it always bears the question. Which of these bros would you rather have on your team? Because I think I've got my mind made up, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, Jesse, you talk about brothers in the NHL, and I've been fortunate enough to play with some brothers and how unique it's been. You talk about Nick Foligno and Marcus Foligno. I got to play with Marcus Foligno. I trained both of the Hughes brothers, Quinn and Jack, and I played with both brothers at the same time, Braden and Luke Shen. So there's a uniqueness to the Tkachuk brothers because I think they're the only brothers that actually play the same position. And the position they play is sort of something that a lot of teams are starving. It's the power forward position, and they both played extremely well. If I had to pick one of the Tkachuk brothers, I'm going to go back to my experience in St. Louis when I played with their dad, Keith Tkachuk, and I used to go watch them play minor hockey and all their tournaments that they went to. And his dad always told me that Matthew's the feisty one, but Brady has more skill. So I'm going to choose Brady here and listen to Big Walt on this one because clearly when you look at them play, Brady is a little bit faster. He has a little bit better hands, but Matthews is the guy who likes to get into people's faces.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Carlo, except, you talk about skill, and I think you can actually make the argument from what we've seen so far, Matthew might actually be the more skilled brother. I mean, look what this guy's been able to do in the league so far. First of all, the between the legs goal was the most insane thing ever. That's just straight skill right there. Second of all, you look at his point totals. He had 77 points a few seasons ago, 61 last year. I know this year he's having a bit of a down year, but I think the Flames are just in a weird slump. I think if they can really turn things around, he's going to be the main player who picks his game up. And I saw firsthand how annoying Matthew could be to play against. You want players on your team who everyone loves to hate, because you hate playing against them, but you want them on your team so badly. And I think
in both cases, Jesse, you can make the case that they're both guys you'd love to have on your team, but hate to play against.
100%. And I would rather have the player who you hate playing against more, and that's definitely Matthew. But
so here's the thing: you're not wrong with what you say, but in terms of Brady, I think Matthew has come into the league with more talent around him. And with Brady, seeing some of the chemistry that he's already creating with some of the young players in Ottawa, like Tim Stützle, I think the sky's the limit for this guy who is clearly, been a pretty good point producer, averaging almost 45 points a year with this young core in Ottawa.
All right, well, we're going to stay on the topic here of, comparing players. And there's 2 players whose names I feel they've always been kind of in the same conversation, and that's, to stay on top with the Jets, Nikolai Ehlers and Willie Nylander. Okay, I feel like they've been categorized together before, and I want to know, Carlo, which of these 2 studs are you taking?
Well, Jesse, I think you nailed it. I think these are the exact same players that play different positions. You talk about Ehlers, that's a left-handed shot, and Nylander, that's a right-handed shot. I think Nylander is a more polarizing player just because of the market that he plays in and the criticism that he gets. But I really like watching Nikolai Ehlers play because of his compete level. I saw him get into a fight last night against Corey Perry. He's definitely not scared to mix it up, which is something you don't really see in William Nylander's game. You look at the point totals; they're very similar between both guys. I think they bring the same stat lines when it comes to the underlying metrics in their game with puck possession and zone entries and stuff like that. But if I was to pick a player, I'm going Nick Ehlers, and just because of the compete level and the salary attached to him. He makes less money, and I think you get more of that.
Yeah, I think one thing about Nick Ehlers, too, that you have to mention is his skating. This guy, behind Connor McDavid, Nikolai Ehlers might be the best skater in the league. And you mentioned zone entries. No one enters the zone like Nick Ehlers. Well, there are some players you can think of that compare, of course. But this guy's so good with the puck. He's so quick. And let's remember that Nick Ehlers has been playing, all due respect to, a player like Brian Little, but it's a good but not great center. And then you look at some of the centers who Willie Nylander has been able to play with in Toronto. It's a bit different. And now you take into account the centers that Ehlers has to play with in Winnipeg. He's playing with Kyle Connor right now too. I mean, the sky is the limit for this guy. He's starting to peak. This is the best hockey we've ever seen Nick Ehlers play, and I think he's only going to get better from here. People forget that, they're so quick to judge players when they're young and say, oh, this player's not great, trade him. But he's young. This is a young player he's averaging more than a point per game now. He's been dynamite this year, and just he's really been, I'd say, the X factor, one of the main X factors at least, for why Winnipeg's been so good this season. I think that
I couldn't agree with you more, Jesse. And I think the one thing that gives Ehlers the edge here is that his consistency is there. He doesn't have lapses of 4, 5, 6 games where he's invisible like William Nylander has had throughout his couple of years here in Toronto, which is why sometimes he gets criticized the way that he does. So consistency is a big factor in the NHL. It's when you're on your A game, you're bringing your A game, but what's your next level that you're getting to? And for William Nylander, people are still trying to figure that out. I think for Ehlers, you can say when he's not on his A game, at least you're getting a B game from him.
And the main piece of criticism for Ehlers is that he hadn't been able to score in the playoffs, but he scored 2 last year. And I think if Winnipeg can make it this year, he's going to prove to be one of the best players on that team. And you better believe I think the Jets are making a run. But hey, that's just my opinion. But
I'll agree with you on that one for sure.
Carlo, we talk about Ehlers and centers that the Jets have now. And if you really look after acquiring Pierre-Luc Dubois, I mean, not just being biased here, this is undoubtedly one of maybe the best top 6 in the NHL. So I want to ask you, where do you think the Jets' top 6 ranks? Because for me, it's number 1.
Jesse, I think it's hard to argue against you here with the Winnipeg Jets in their top 6. And I know how emotional you got when Patrick Laine ended up being traded away from the Jets and Dubois was coming in. But it's almost like it took a conversation for me to help you settle down, because it helped you realize the player you were getting in Dubois. And what Dubois has helped do in Winnipeg is, like you said, it's helped solidify their top 6 to be one of, if not the best top 6 in the league. I mean, when you compare him to the likes of Toronto, Vegas, Edmonton, Tampa Bay, they easily match up in the top 6 with any one of those teams with their skill level. When you can put together a line of Scheifele, Wheeler, and Ehlers, and then Stastny, Dubois, and Connor, I don't think there's many teams right now that can compete with that.